All right. Welcome everyone to our GCEC Virtual Connection webinar series here for December 2025. My name is Jeff Reed. I am the founding director of the entrepreneurship program at Georgetown University, and I love hosting these events because it's a great way to get our GCEC community together and learn from each other. And of course, for those who might be new, just to know that GCEC is more than a series of webinars. We have a lot of resources to offer. It's just an amazing way for people that work in the world of university-based entrepreneurship programming to get together and learn from each other, whether it's our annual conference, these virtual connections, seminars, newsletters, a global conference in Brazil next year, all kinds of fun ways to get together and learn from one another. But today's session, we're going to focus on a great concept. It's a giant concept, small businesses, big impacts, the idea of side hustles. How do you support student side hustles on campus? So I'm going to turn it over to our colleagues from the University of Arkansas and Lane 2 Learning and let them kind of drive this through. And one of the interesting things about today's session is they've actually brought some of their students with them. So we'll get to hear from some side hustlers. And we'll encourage attendees to have robust activity in the chat, put questions, comments, dad jokes, whatever you think. Oh, by the way, what does a baby computer call its father? Data. Oh, okay. All right. With that, I am now going to give up the reins, turn it over to Deb Williams, at University of Arkansas. Take it away, Deb.
Thank you so much. I don't know if the cost of entry is a joke, but I'm going to throw one out there. What did sushi A say to sushi B? Yeah. You've heard this? Wasabi.
Wasabi. I love it. Thank you, Deb.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We're very excited to co-present this topic again. We actually were fortunate enough, Jeff and I, to present this at um, the conference, the industry conference in Canada earlier this fall. And we enjoyed it so much. And I think the audience that joined us enjoyed it a lot. And so this picture is actually from our time in Canada together. And how Jeff and I met, it's kind of an interesting story. We piloted our side hustle program here at the University of Arkansas, and Jeff, this is kind of this is foundationally work that he has been very focused on, and so I think he just has tracked a lot of programs that are happening and popping up. And so he just reached out for a quick call to learn more about what we were doing. And we decided, let's just try to present at the conference and see what happens. So this was us presenting at the conference, and we're going to continue we've learned a lot from each other and going to continue that relationship by he's going to kind of partner with us at the University of Arkansas on some programming in the spring. So excited about that. So quick overview of what we're going to talk about today. First of all, happy to have you all here. Thanks for taking some time on this Friday. For us at the University of Arkansas, it's our reading day. So thank you, Van, for joining. I know you're getting prepped for your finals next week. I'm sure a lot of you have that same experience at your university. We're going to talk a little bit about what side hustling is, how it's defined, why it matters for our college students, and go over a little bit about kind of how this evolution is really a new era of what entrepreneurship looks like for our students. And so we'll do a couple of case studies, the work that we've done here at the University of Arkansas, and then Jeff is going to share some work that he's done with universities like the University of Manitoba in Canada. And then we will share some resources that you can take and bring back to your campuses. I'll kick off with kind of my introduction to side hustling. When I was a youngster, like many of you, I can't believe I just said youngster. That's so old. Talk about dad jokes. Anyway, when I was young in my very small town of Lamars, Iowa, I think this is probably why this concept has interested me so much, because that's really how I grew up. I grew up in a large family with 6 kids. one parent working, and to earn money, we had to do a lot of different things, right? I felt like I didn't know the term at the time, but I mowed yards. I sold Girl Scout cookies and greeting cards door to door. I had a paper route with my brothers and babysat and shoveled snow and all of the things. And so once you kind of have that mindset, I think probably many of you relate to that, but that is something that just appeals to me, and I really have enjoyed working with our students at the University of Arkansas that kind of have this mentality too. I've worked in higher education at the U of A for approximately a little over 20 years. 10 of those years spent working in our entrepreneurship and innovation space. I oversee operations for our unit, and I also manage a lot of our student entrepreneurship programs. So super grateful to be here today. Next slide. Turn it over now to Jeff so he can do a quick intro of himself as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dev. I also love that we're both wearing the same outfits from Calgary. We got the matching blazer and sweater here, which is great. Thanks so much for joining, folks. My name's Jeff Mitchell. I'm based in Kitchener-Waterloo, Ontario, about an hour outside of Toronto. Like Deb, I have been a side hustler for most of my life. You know, when I was in high school and college, my best friends used to call me odd job Jeff. They kind of make fun of me for being the guy who was always washing windows, painting someone's house, mowing a lawn. And that really translated into how I've governed my professional career. You know, I have been growing a portfolio of work through side hustling since 2013. Like many entrepreneurs, I've had quite a winding pathway. I'm a high school teacher by trade. My first entrepreneurial venture was a tech startup. I'm based in Kitchener-Waterloo, where we have the University of Waterloo, we have Communitech. There's quite a tech ecosystem here. And so for me, entrepreneur meant being a startup founder. And I jumped into that ecosystem for about 2.5 years building my first company. And I really felt like a fish out of water. You know, I was an entrepreneur, but I wasn't a startup founder. I didn't identify with wanting to like scale up and grow a massive company that gets to an exit. And that experience really transformed my view of entrepreneurship and wanting to support entrepreneurs who don't necessarily identify as tech startup founders. From there, I went on to Communitech, our regional innovation center here in town. I led corporate innovation training for a couple of years, helping to inject some entrepreneurial DNA into some of the largest organizations in Canada. In 2017, I built a team and led a raise of $1.4 million across 4 years to fund a program called DISC. This is a digital transformation project. We help Main Street businesses start selling online. And really, that sort of circuitous pathway has led me to where I am today, where I'm still running a portfolio of work that really centers around my work with Lane 2. This is a boutique education company I run with my wife, Laura, and we specialize, as Deb mentioned, in side hustle programming. We've trained over 2,000 side hustlers through our flagship course, How to Start a Side Hustle. We do that by partnering with post-secondary institutions and economic development organizations, and also with Startup Canada. We travel across the country a couple times a year delivering workshops to their audiences. And for me, this is such an exciting time to be in this space of entrepreneurship education because there have never been more youth interested in entrepreneurship as a pathway. And I get so energized and so excited with all the courses that we teach because we see such dynamic entrepreneurs across our campuses. But as we're going to get into today, not all of them, and in fact, most of them don't identify as startup founders. We're seeing this trend of side hustling emerge. And so I want to talk now a little bit about what side hustling actually is and why this trend matters. So Jeff mentioned earlier using the chat. This is a chance to do that, okay? Give your best guess here. What do you think the percentage is of adults living in the US who currently have a side hustle? What do you think? I'll wait for maybe 1 or 2 responses there. All the adults in the US, 40% from Van. Yeah, you're right around there. 36% of all adults in the US are already running a side hustle, already growing a second line of income. If we look at that trend through the lens of demographics, how do we think it changes if we start to look at millennials and Gen Z? Right, again, would love to see some responses in the chat there. What do we think? How does this trend shift? Right, getting up to 50, 60%. And we're seeing that trend, right? When we look at millennials, 44% of all millennials have a side hustle, up to 50% with Gen Z. But what's really interesting for me is that this is really just the beginning of this change. Because there have also been some really interesting studies done about the quickly approaching Gen Alpha, right? They're going to be on your campuses in 2028. There was an Acorn study that interviewed 60,000 parents and their Gen Alpha kids, and they asked them, do you plan on starting a side hustle? 69% of them said yes. Right? In 2028, we are going to have the most entrepreneurial generation you have ever seen step foot on your campus, and they are interested in starting side hustles. So there's no doubt that this trend is emerging on campuses all across Canada, the US, and around the world. And I think it's really important at this point for us to get aligned as to what we mean when we say side hustle. Like, what is a side hustle? You know, if you ask Google, or I guess in my classes now, I have to say, if you ask ChatGPT or Gemini or your AI tool of choice, you're going to get a definition something like this: that side hustling is work performed for income that is supplementary to your primary job. And yes, for many students and many side hustlers, this is where the journey begins. But having worked with so many side hustlers at this stage, I really see that this definition falls short of describing what side hustling is all about as we sit here in the waning days of 2025. For me, a much more appropriate definition for side hustling is this: side hustling is building a portfolio career with multiple lines of income. Like my student and friend Sam Davidson, who recently took the course that we run at the University of Manitoba. Sam is an MBA student by day. He moonlights as Sammy Red Hot, a freelance wrestler. He travels around Manitoba and Saskatchewan performing at fairs and carnivals. At his last event, he sold 50 t-shirts. He is interested in building multiple lines of income. But it's not just a portfolio career with multiple lines of income. What we see with this generation of entrepreneur is that they value alternative currencies, and that side hustling is about creating pathways to abundance in a range of currencies that matter. A little later today, you're going to meet Emily, the environmental musician, an alumni from the course I run at the University of Manitoba. And she'll talk to you about how making money is definitely a priority, but also the social impact and the environmental impact that she's looking to have. Right? Side hustling is building portfolio careers, multiple lines of income, and multiple pathways to abundance in a range of alternative currencies. And so why are we seeing this trend erupt nowadays? I think at a high level, there's two reasons. One, it's to protect against uncertainty. Right? This is no secret. We are living in a state of economic uncertainty, workplace volatility. Every time I log into LinkedIn, I see another massive company has laid off a significant percentage of their workforce. Many young entrepreneurs are turning to side hustling to protect against that uncertainty. But we also see side hustlers using side hustling to create more abundance, recognizing that there's opportunities to make more money, but also to have higher levels of freedom and greater impact. There's also an interesting counterculture element to side hustling where many young folks are, there I go saying young folks, Deb, now we're both old, there we go, right? Many folks on your campuses today, right, are turning to side hustling also as a rejection of the traditional workplace of the past, that 9 to 5. And so that's why side hustling is emerging at a high level. I'm going to pass it back to Deb now to talk about why it matters for our students today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, why does it matter? Why are students doing this? They're doing it because they do it already. They've done it before they even come to college, right? So a record number of our students are coming to campus already with active businesses. Many of those are the reason why we started our program in the first place. There's a lot of tools out there that make launching a new business really easy. Etsy, Shopify, TikTok, other social media outlets, all the AI tools now that make it super, super easy. Many of us at the conference learned a lot about WAP, the new WAP program, and that tool makes it really easy for individuals to start a business. Side hustles attract a more diverse set of students. Those students don't necessarily even identify as entrepreneurs, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But the accessibility of running a side hustle or doing something on the side to make extra money, it really can apply to everyone, and there's really no identity associated necessarily with that, or no barrier to entry. It's the most accessible on-ramp for them to learn and apply their business skills. And financially, it's a lifeline in the high-cost environment of higher education. On average, a Yahoo Finance study said that most side hustlers are making an average of $700 a month. Many of the students that we work with are making significantly more than that. I just wanted to introduce you to one of our students. His name is Nick. Nick, talk about somebody who came into college with this social sphere web solutions business. He's making approximately $1,000 a month. And it's changed not only his, ability to earn money while he's in college, it's actually changed, I think, the way that he thinks about entrepreneurship and avenues to what his next steps in his career will be. He has participated in our student business incubator with a different business concept. He has interned with different startups in our ecosystem, and so he's really embraced the programs that we have at the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Office, and it's really, I think, helped him move the needle on this business in particular. And what do students get out of this? Real skills, real impact, a real portfolio of work that employers value, and it gives them a clear direction for their future. The sales and communication aspect of a business, they learn to talk to customers. They know how to close sales. They know how to deliver value. Thinking about marketing and branding, they create their own content. They are more reliable, more social media tools are easier for them to use. They learn more about building not just the brand of their business, but their own personal brand and how they approach that. Financial literacy, they learn about pricing, budgeting. They really understand what margins look like, cost of goods, operations and delivery, systems, workflows, consistency. They learn how to do all of those things through the business that they're building and apply what they're learning in the classroom to this real life experience. And then, of course, problem solving and resilience. They're learning how to pivot. They learn how to handle things that don't work out. They manage failure. They handle setbacks, and they can test new solutions and pivot and do things differently. And what we have seen in almost every student that we've worked with, is this confidence and this sense of identity that they have that doing something like this gives them. And that leads me to a story that I think will give us a little more context to identity. Jeff's next section, but we did a tabling event a couple years ago on campus, and we had a whiteboard out there that one side said, what does innovation mean to you? And the other side said, what does entrepreneurship mean to you? And we had sticky notes, and students all day were kind of throwing up their sticky notes on their sides, the sides of things. And on this side of the board, there were tons of sticky notes with lots of different things. And on the other side, there were very few sticky notes with the names of a few popular entrepreneurs like Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. And so I think when we use the word entrepreneur, that can tend to almost scare students off. And I'll talk a little bit more about this when we talk about the pilot that we did. This is a little bit, but like the identity piece of entrepreneurship is really important. And I'll kick it over now back to Jeff to talk a little bit more about that.
Awesome. Thanks, Deb. Yeah, I think this poses a really interesting question, right? Like if you reflect on your own students, what do we think? Do they actually identify as entrepreneurs? From the work that I've done, I see students looking in the mirror and asking questions like, who am I as I'm getting started on this journey to build a business? And, are they founders? Are they business owners? Are they social innovators? There is this crisis of identity at the outset of an entrepreneurial journey. And that's a major problem for us because so many of our programs today are pointed at what I would call modern entrepreneurial identities. Right. In my opinion, the modern era of entrepreneurship started in 2005 when Steve Blank published the 4 Steps to Epiphany. From that moment, we all started to design programs aimed at helping tech startups to scale up and commercialize. And our programs evolved to maybe offer niche programs for very specific types of startups. And this served our students well for many years. But then in 2020, Gen Z entered the workforce en masse, started to really question what employment really is, what entrepreneurship really means, right? They lit that fire of change, and then COVID was the gasoline on that fire. And this modern era of entrepreneurship changed entirely. Because today, what we see is that our entrepreneurs, they are questioning their identities. They are questioning what it means to be an entrepreneur, and they are redefining it on their own terms. For entrepreneurs in 2025, specifically entrepreneurs on your campuses, identity is not a singular or fixed thing. Entrepreneurial identity is a spectrum. It is a broad spectrum that is inclusive of so many types of entrepreneurs, right? Our entrepreneurs today are looking in the mirror and what they're seeing are solo founders. right? They're seeing YouTubers, they're seeing TikTokers, solopreneurs, artists, makers, photographers, Twitch streamers, AI agent developers. They see themselves as so many things, but so few of them actually identify as startups. Welcome to what we call the postmodern era of entrepreneurship, where entrepreneurial identity is a spectrum and portfolio careers are the future of work. And what we believe is that side hustling is the first step on that journey for all of these entrepreneurs today. And the work that Deb and I have done has really showed us this, that there are entrepreneurs hiding all over your campus. They are hidden in corners of your campus, but they are not being drawn into your founder boot camps, your startup programs. Our central thesis is that side hustle programming is the key to attracting these entrepreneurs into your ecosystem so that they can get the support and the help that they need. And we're going to go through two awesome case studies now. We'll start by looking at the great works Deb has done at the University of Arkansas over the last year. So back over to you here, Deb.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we I'll tell you a little bit about the story. If you'll go to the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit about the story of how this whole idea of side hustling came to be at the University of Arkansas. We have a student leadership team, a student advisory board, and that board of students about a few years ago was working with us to try to help attract more students to the programs that we were delivering on campus. And as they went out on campus and did some customer discovery with students, they were asking questions like, do you know about OEI, or Entrepreneurship and Innovation Office and Center? Do you know what entrepreneurship is? And they were meeting people that were running businesses that didn't even really identify with the word entrepreneur. One of the students that they met with was making buttons and selling them regularly at football games, and not really thinking about just collecting the money, but not really thinking about herself and understanding kind of the business aspect of that. And so we did a survey and kind of learned some of the pain points that those individuals were having related to accessing resources. And so as a result of the work that student group did, and I think one of them is on this call, Luke Planos has been a part of our student leadership team and has helped tremendously with running this side hustle programming at the University of Arkansas. We decided to go ahead and start a pilot program called the Side Hustle Hub at the University of Arkansas. Next slide, please. So what is that actually? So what we were, again, based on what we learned from our students, kind of a threefold thing. We want them to learn through workshops, trainings, networking opportunities. We wanted to provide them with access to resources that would help them with their businesses. And then, of course, we wanted to help them build community with each other and learn from each other. And I think that's the thing, more than any of those three at the beginning, was what these founders really embraced, was this connection to each other, these weekly meetings that brought them together, and they would learn a lot just from being in the same room with each other. So we opened up a pilot. We were running a pilot in the spring of 25 and have a semester long, essentially 10 to 12 week program, and had a wide range of applicants. First of all, 103 people applied to just be a part of the program. 76 of those applicants were actually running side hustles, and you can see the various sectors of business that our students were working in. So we did the in-person pilot. It was a 10 or 12 week, or 9 sessions over the course of the semester. We did weekly meetings. We always brought a kind of a subject matter expert to those meetings. So someone who focused on legal support, contracts, operating agreements, non-disclosures, somebody with accounting, somebody with logo design. And what we would do is have a session where they would present for 20 to 30 minutes, just broadly overviewing concepts, and then have individual kind of office hours meetings with each entrepreneur. And it was a full, could end up being 3 to 4 hour sessions, one day a week, where our students were able to benefit from these resources. We also created some student member benefits, 24-hour card access to our space, their own coffee mugs. We had a dedicated room that was set up for our our office hours, and then lots of one-to-one opportunities to connect with our experts. This is just an overview of our schedule that semester. Different sessions are highlighted. This is what we think based on our interview and conversations with the students. We're evolving this programming now. We've done another session in this fall semester and are creating a class for our programming in the spring semester around side hustles. But this here is just kind of a, structure over the course of the semester of things that we did and worked on with students. Outcomes from that spring, we had 45 students who attended at least 4 or more classes. 4 of the students moved on to our summer student business incubator, which we piloted that year as well. We only had 5 students in the program in our incubator. And then 18 of the side hustles either started new businesses, registered their business, generated new revenue as a result of the program. Insights and learnings based on our project. You see Rachel Sullivan there. She's one of my colleagues, and Rachel runs some programs that are geared towards providing free support to entrepreneurs. And so one of them is our entrepreneurial law project. They also run a program called the Design Collaborative, and a program that allows accounting students to give accounting support to startup founders under the advisement of faculty and accountants in our community. So one of the big things was reducing the barrier to professional resources and giving them real support that they can actually use for their business. Students running hustles need resources and support that meets them where they are. So they told us we need more. The biggest barrier to moving the needle on my business is actually time to work on it. So we were working to try to create opportunities for them to maybe within a class or like with the student business incubator over the course of a summer, our students are paid to work as a part of that. They're paid to essentially intern for their own companies. And so ideas to try to give them and break down the barriers for them to kind of move things forward. And again, space and community is critical. It's the key. So now I'd like to introduce a student that I've been working with, and that's most of our team has been working with for quite some time now. I met Van when we did, I believe it was an information session for our Side Hustle Hub programming at the beginning of this year. And I love to tell the story. You will never be able to know, but Van is like 7 feet tall. And as a 6 foot tall person myself, just about 7 feet tall, but as a 6 foot tall person myself, we start, of course, talking about basketball or sports that we played, because that's the question we always get asked as a tall person. What sport did you play? And so we got into talking about basketball, and that's how our conversation started. But it was a beautiful story. Van told me a really kind of personal why behind how he got into his business. And so I'm just grateful, number one, Van, that you were able to take the time to come today and be a part of this and just share your story and how you've grown through the programming that the Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation has provided. So if you don't mind unmuting, and I'm going to kind of go through, I'd love for you to just start by introducing yourself and kind of telling us a little bit more about your side hustle and your why.
Thank you, Deb. My name is Van Reem. In that photo, that is a full-size trash can for reference. So it's not, I may look taller. I'm kneeling, so it's not a good way to measure. I'm a dual major, supply chain and computer science, and I started Trash Assist in 2024, April 1st. It feels kind of like a joke, but I was like, if I'm going to start, I might as well do it today. And that's when it started. The reason I started it is I had to kind of have surgeries and like heart surgeries, and I had cardiac rehab. And I spent a lot of time with older patients when I was going through my rehab. And I talked with them about things that they struggled with and learned that a lot of them deal with like a lot of difficulties around their home. And one of them being just moving their bins. They're at fall risks. It's very sad because that simple movement can really just affect the rest of their life. A simple fall here or there. So I wanted to limit that through both my grandmother and my Mimi. I didn't want them to deal with that. And I started to pilot the program of Trash Assist and just moving bins, a concierge bin management service, bin to curb. We just move your bins before trash day and then the day of when trash is picked up. And then we're on a monthly subscription. And I kind of started it and learned that the elderly don't really want to like pay for it's more so Airbnbs that really like the service. And that's kind of where majority of my customers are and early adopters or the STR market and people that own like multiple properties or even some renters that just kind of want like a bougie experience for their renter. Uh, and then, yeah, so I started Trash
What
System
cha-
in 2024
yeah.
April, and yeah, it's been
What
great. It's a
what
lot of
over
fun.
Oh, you muted Deb.
Sorry
Yeah.
about that. Would you look at your business and your experience so far? What challenges have you faced in this journey?
Guidance on what direction to go. Should I expand the service offering or should I focus and, really sharpen what I'm doing and get better at that? That was pretty a gray area. I didn't know how to navigate.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks for sharing your story, Van. I appreciate that. I know the stories of how your business has grown and changed over the course of your time in the Side Hustle Hub and through the business incubator. But what would you say are the key, maybe 2 or 3 points of things that have really helped you?
Some presentations we had in Side Hustle Hub, we got the one-on-one time after, and it felt more like mentorship. And whenever I would tell people about my business, they'd go, "Oh, I know someone that did this, like another home service business." And then they would have a valuable insight that helped me kind of either pivot or focus more on my own personal business. And the guidance and mentorship I gained, because I kind of tried to find mentors and a lot of people find it kind of weird if you're like looking for mentors. It kind of just happens naturally, I learned. Because I think I asked someone to be my mentor and they're like, no. I was like, okay, my bad, my bad. And yeah, getting those organic like connections where you just click with someone and then, next thing you know, you can text them anytime and you guys have that relationship has been uh, very pivotal and important. It's been so helpful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think that, the work that these students have done over the course of the year and in the summer, I think the time and the ability to invest in your time in your business has given you the opportunity to meet so many people who have helped you with different aspects, maybe things you didn't even realize that were things you needed to work on. So I think as a result of some things that happened over the course of the summer for Van and his company was he was able to expand his reach in terms of how many locations he's doing this service in, and he built out a routing system for his business, and then also has hired some 1099 employees, which is a huge milestone and given him some momentum and ability to expand the scope of the business. So thank you so much again, Van, for being here, for sharing your story. And I'll kick it back over to Jeff so he can take over and talk about his pilot.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Devin. Just a quick comment. Yeah, what an inspiring story, Van. Thanks for sharing that with us. What a great example of like customer discovery in action, right? Listening to people, understanding their pains, and then building a solution. Like that's one of the things I love about side hustle programming is those core principles that you're already teaching in your startup programs are the same foundational pillars that our side hustlers need. We just need to package them up and present them a little differently. And that's really what I've been doing with my approach to supporting side hustlers. So I provide kind of a partnership model where we bolt on as a partner with different entrepreneurship centers to deliver our flagship course called How to Start a Side Hustle. And I'm going to share a quick case study now of the work we've been doing with the University of Manitoba and the Stu Clark Center for Entrepreneurship over the last year or so. In September 2024, we started with a hypothesis that we could use side hustle programming to achieve these goals, to attract more on-campus entrepreneurs into the entrepreneurship ecosystem, not only attract more entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs from across campus, and that we could drive real business outcomes. So we set out to do that, kind of practicing what we preach. Our course is all about teaching these lean and design thinking principles in a startup context. So we always start with an MVP, right? Our first small bet. In the fall of 2024, we ran a 90-minute webinar with the University of Manitoba called the Side Hustle Roadmap. And then we followed that up with a pilot cohort of our 6-week course called How to Start a Side Hustle. This is not a 4-credit course. It's extracurricular, delivered across 6 weeks, all online. I won't go through this line by line. We'll send you these slides as a follow-up, but this gives you a breakdown and an overview of the approach that we take. I'm typically working with side hustlers who have an idea but haven't got started yet, or maybe have been in business for 6 months or so, but are really, really early stages. And so we take them from understanding the different business models that are available to them to doing customer discovery, developing a business model, spinning up a quick prototype, and then getting ready to launch what I call your minimum viable offer. And again, it's so inspiring to work with such a diverse group of entrepreneurs to see how these lean startup best practices can absolutely translate into supporting side hustles. Wanted to share a quick example. This is one of our students named Asmar. She is a self-proclaimed club kid. She likes to go to raves and music festivals. I'll admit, talking to Asmar makes me feel a little old when she's talking about her interests. She's also super into fashion and had a really neat idea for a side hustle that she could sell full body rhinestones for people who are going to these raves and music festivals. Admittedly, I had no idea what she meant. So I said, hey, spin up a quick prototype so you can show us what you mean. And then let's go show that to customers so we can test the product, the pricing to inform your launch. And it's amazing how entrepreneurs today are using AI to create prototypes like this. In the span of an hour, she used Gemini. She tried ChatGPT first, wasn't pleased with the results, so switched to Gemini and created these product images for her idea, threw some pricing on there, some brand language, and went out and started showing that to customers. And so, our pilot program with U of M started to show us that these concepts really can be beneficial to side hustlers. This is how it went. We had 150 students sign up for our Side Hustle Roadmap webinar. Of those 150 who signed up, 90 participated. Of the 90 students who participated in that top of the funnel webinar, 48 of them applied for our first cohort of How to Start a Side Hustle. We took the top 24. Like Deb's list earlier, we saw a broad range of industries. We saw like smart home security solutions, someone doing catering and grazing tables, makeup artists, woodworkers, painters, and Emily, the environmental musician who you're going to meet in just a moment. The outcome of that initial pilot, 21 of our 24 students attended at least 4 of our 6 classes or more. 12 of those students started new side hustles, so actually registered their business and started generating revenue. And we took the top 15 students from that cohort and we moved them on to our side hustle community, which is kind of our ongoing incubator coaching program. And one of the shining stars from that first cohort was Emily. Em and I have been working together for almost a year now. Em is a biology and music student. She is not someone who's signing up for your traditional founder boot camp, but Emily has such a strong entrepreneurial spirit and such a strong passion for creating an impact at the intersection of music and the environment. And so, Emily, I'd love to invite you to turn your camera on and your mic if you're able to. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'd love if you could get started by just telling us a little bit about you, your side hustle, and why you started the Environmental Musician.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, my name's Emily Thorosky, and I'm the environmental musician. I'm a biologist as well as a musician, and I'm located in Winnipeg, Manitoba. So my affiliation with the U of M is I'm an alumni. I graduated with a Bachelor of Environmental Science degree and a Master of Environment degree. And I started my business called the Environmental Musician, because I learned so much about the environment, being there for 10 years, and really how we are destroying our planet pretty much. And we need more people involved in conservation. So I love music. So I became the environmental musician, started my business, and I just wanted to spread the word about the environment and get more people involved. Through music, where people love music, they get excited, and you can learn through music. So one of my goals was to get kids involved. So I started to create my own workshops where I go to schools and I have environmental songwriting workshops with kids where they come up with their own lyrics, and I have my guitar there. I make chords for the songs, and we learn together and sing together. And the kids after the sessions, they say it's the best thing they've done all year. They're learning about the environment and they're excited, and it just gets me so excited, and tells me that I'm doing something that matters. I've had some features on like the newspapers and stuff, which has been amazing, and just kind of proves that what I'm doing is pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been so inspiring to see your journey. And it's been great that we've worked together for over a year now. I just looked, like, your cohort ended just over a year ago. And I know over the last year, there have been some highs, but there's also been some lows and some challenges. Can you talk a little bit about one challenge that you faced early on in your side hustle journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think like as when you're starting your business, it's, there's going to be challenges throughout it. And the one that kind of was big for me is confidence. So I started out as a very shy kid. And so being a part of the side hustle community has really brought out, me as a person, and being confident in who I am. And for me, I'm not really selling a tool or an item, a product. It's more like I'm selling myself. So you have to be pretty confident in what you're doing. So yeah, confidence has been definitely a challenge, but I'm doing it every day, and I'm getting out there and making a difference.
I love it. I appreciate your candor and honesty sharing that, Em. I think that's something that so many new side hustlers experience, right? I often find, like, it's not about the business tactics up front. It's about the mindset, right? And overcoming some of that fear and self-doubt. And it's been wonderful to watch you work through those things. And then finally, again, like, I know how we've worked together over the last year, but I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about maybe one or two things you learned from the side hustle program, or one or two resources that you had access to that were really helpful for you along your journey.
Yeah, well, I'll break that down into like three things pretty quick. Is like, yeah, through this community, you get learning opportunities and resources to use. You're learning about customer discovery, designing your business model, and you get templates and examples to use, which is amazing. Second, you get to be involved in a community where people are like all doing the same thing, right? They're all have the same building a business, and we can get together online and talk about group discussions on what's everyone's problems, and we kind of overcome it together. So being a part of the community is amazing. And then just like lastly, kind of like what Van was saying, the one-on-one sessions with like your mentor, and for me, Jeff, has been like invaluable. Like just consistency of having one-on-one meetings every month where you can discuss personally about your business, and you have work on ideas or different challenges you're having. It's amazing, and I would definitely suggest anyone to take this course for sure.
Awesome. I appreciate that, Emily. And again, it's been so great to watch your journey over the last year. Maybe share your like Instagram in the chat with folks so they could check out what you're up to. Van, if you have some social media handles or a website, I'm sure people would be interested in checking your stuff out. I'll brag for Emily a bit too, just like Deb just did. Emily also released like a solo song this summer, which you can check out on Spotify. And she's been performing at a few different venues. She had a gig in Edmonton, up in Northern Alberta, performing in front of a few hundred people. So both Emily and Van, like, kudos to both of you for making things happen, and taking that brave, bold step to get your businesses off the ground. Yeah, let's give a round of applause to both of them in the chat there, or maybe you're just clapping silently in your living room at home. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, folks. Okay, so couple final things here, and then we'll shift into a Q&A, folks. Some big insights that we learned from that first pilot we ran with the University of Manitoba. A robust application process is vital. Because there are so many kids interested in side hustling, you do have to find a way to create an application process that allows us to really find those who are serious about doing the hard work that's needed to get that business off the ground. And then we saw time, energy, and focus management as a major challenge for students, right? Who are, Van, you listed your exam schedule for next week. Like, my gosh, managing that plus your business is a lot. And that focus on the mindset, fear, self-doubt, imposter syndrome. We learned that group coaching plus one-on-one is a good mix. And we had a bunch of alumni and staff sign up for the course as well. And so in future cohorts, we started to open up seats for some staff members. The success of that pilot led us to phase 2 with the University of Manitoba. We now run 3 cohorts a year with them. We run a winter, spring, and fall cohorts. Plus, we take the top 15 students from each cohort and we drop them into that side hustle community. That's that ongoing group that Emily referenced there. And we've seen some really great results in 2025. We have over 170 students apply for every cohort of our course. We've had over 500 applications across 3 cohorts this year. We take the top 25 to 30 students from each cohort. So we've taken 79 students into the cohorts this year, and 40 of them ended up registering, launching new side hustles, and generating new revenue. Again, a really great mix, different businesses, folks like Melinda, who's a social worker. Again, not somebody who's drawn to your startup programs, but hugely entrepreneurial. She now provides consulting services where she helps Canadian families apply for the disability tax credit. She's found a neat business model mechanic where folks can actually file that under their insurance and without having to pay her out of pocket. The other byproduct we've seen is in these times of change, side hustling is making headlines. We've been able to generate some really great earned media opportunities for the University of Manitoba, the Stu Clark Center, and the Asper Foundation. We've been able to leverage some of this media presence to secure some additional funding to now fund the next year of this programming. And at the end of the day, like, this is why we're here. You know, we really believe that there are entrepreneurs hiding all over your campus. And side hustle programming is what's going to bring them into your ecosystem where they can get the support that they need. And we want to make it really easy for you to start doing that. So at the end of January, I'm hosting a free webinar called the Side Hustle Launchpad. It is an open webinar. It's introductory. It's going to teach students about side hustling. Any participating college or university can have their students attend for free. We want to make this really accessible and a light lift for you folks. So if that's of interest to you and learning how to bring this to your campus, you can scan that QR code. We'll schedule a quick call and we'll chat about it. And again, you'll get access to these slides as a follow-up. Deb, that was fun doing that a second time, wasn't it?
I agree.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much for being here, folks. We'll kick it back over to Jeff Reed here to see us out. Thanks, Jeff.
Well, that was an amazing presentation. A big shout out to Jeff and Deb, as well as their students, Em and Van. We really appreciate all of you being here. It's not a surprise that you guys might have done this before because that was really well organized and well presented. So thank you very much for that. I know I've seen it on my campus, side hustles being a really popular thing and growing, as you pointed out. I want to give a shout out, or maybe a chance for him to shout out a little more himself. Ryan is here from Student Made. Ryan, you guys are active in this space and working with a lot of universities. Do you want to give a real quick plug for the work that you guys do?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. Apologize for my voice, little sick today, but happy to talk with you guys. So I actually got a chance to speak with Jeff a couple days ago, and he learned about Student Made at GCEC, and he was interested in our programming because I think a lot of students go through lane 2 and are looking for the next step. Like, what do I do from here? What's my outlet now to actually sell and get my work out there? And Student Made basically partners with universities to provide a e-commerce marketplace. So students can sign up, actually reach customers on their campus, learn about selling e-commerce, selling in a pop-up shop environment, learning about things like, sales taxes and marketing their business and promotional displays, all those kinds of things. So we're at 22 universities currently. We're talking with Jeff about, maybe plugging into some of the campuses he's at. We got some interest in Canada, I know, from GCEC. And then likewise, maybe being a plug into some campuses we're at now for kind of being more of an on-ramp to those businesses that maybe aren't selling yet or haven't taken that leap to actually put a product out there, but have an idea, and just kind of getting that initial on-ramp to start thinking entrepreneurially before, actually having a chance to sell it. So that's a little bit about us. We're Student Made. You can learn more at studentmadestore.com. And this is great. It's been great to be part of the GCEC community so far. So thank you
thanks for jumping in. I know you were not prepped in advance for that. So
yeah, sorry. Recovering a little bit too.
Good to see you
Yeah.
again, Ryan.
Yeah, you too, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
One of the
awesome.
things that I appreciated that you guys presented was how you support these student entrepreneurs with legal assistance. I know that's one of the biggest challenges. Sometimes it's easy to start some of these businesses without knowing what you don't know. And I know our campus has a lot of policies around what students can do on campus, and there are a lot of restrictions. And so sometimes students start things without knowing that they're breaking the rules. And it's not always easy to get attorneys to work with these really small businesses that aren't going to, pay $500 an hour, that sort of thing. So I appreciate you guys have done that. Any insights into student these side hustles that have run into troubles, or how you've kind of helped them deal with some of the legal challenges? And I'll
Yeah,
open that to Deb
I'll
or Jeff. Yeah.
yeah, I'll speak to that first. We are super fortunate at the University of Arkansas to have a woman named Rachel Sullivan. She's actually on this call. She's my colleague. She started a program at the U of A called the Entrepreneurial Law Project, and it's an EDA grant funded program, and it supports founders broadly across the state of Arkansas. But essentially what they do is, she's a lawyer and attorney herself. And what they do is partner with law firms to give lawyers opportunities to use pro bono hours to work directly with founders across the state. And this has been game changing in our state. It has been something, it is, as we all know, the single most expensive cost that entrepreneurs face, and it can break a business, right? Because you can't afford to buy products, but your buy supplies, and your legal costs are upwards of through $2,000 to $4,000. And so this has just been a game changer for the state of Arkansas. Entrepreneurs can schedule appointments through our legal checkups. We use our public library for this. And Rachel's team, she has a team, there's a law faculty, there's a business faculty, and Rachel is the managing director of this program. And it allows for founders to schedule appointments through the project and get to meet with lawyers in the community. But it also is kind of a training ground for our 3L legal student. Sorry. So that it's been a game changer, and we're working on that model for also kind of design support services using graphic design students, accounting support services using accounting students. So Rachel's led that on our team, and we've been very fortunate.
Excellent.
Awesome.
We most universities don't have a lot of excess resources, but one thing we do have is a lot of students that want experience.
Yes,
so you're doing a good job
exactly.
organizing that.
Thank you, Jeff.
And we do have a question from Kelly Reardon in the chat. I'll read it out. Kelly, do you want to say it verbally, or do you just want us to read it out? Go ahead. Why don't you unmute and just speak out here?
Speakers today. How did you adjust their business model canvas teaching mindset of problem solution for these hustlers who don't necessarily have problems that they're solving?
Yeah, I can jump into that one first if you want, Deb, and then feel
Yeah.
free to jump in afterwards. So one of the first things we do up front, or one of my first lesson, we introduce students to what I call the side hustle spectrum, which showcases the wide range of different business models that are available. And one of the first things we ask them is, what type of problem are you solving? Because some businesses are not actually solving a problem, or they're solving a problem that is like really, really well understood and does not require the same depth of discovery as, say, somebody who's building an AI agent to help, we had 6 AI agents in our last cohort. That seems to be the popular topic right now. And so we help students anchor their business to a specific category of problem, which will then dictate the level of depth that's needed in each of the subsequent phases. If you're selling t-shirts, you can get through a little bit of discovery, prototyping, and minimum viable offer in a week or two. If you are building a complex piece of technology that does not have an existing market yet, then we got to go through some of that, more basic, deep discovery. So that's sort of how we approach it, is we kind of introduce the spectrum of different levels of problem, types of businesses, and then we've got a reflection activity that the students do. The output is what I call a side hustle hypothesis. So they leave the first class basically putting a stick in the sand saying, hey, I think I'm starting this type of business with this type of solution for these customers. And then we spend the rest of the 6 weeks testing that hypothesis and bringing it to life.
Awesome. All right. Iman's asking about our video. Iman, I love it when you're always tuning in because it's really late on a Friday over in Ireland. We appreciate you
Yes.
joining in at the beginning of your weekend. And are you asking about our GCEC webinar video here?
Yeah, no, absolutely. As I said, I have a couple of colleagues and they just got to see this. So the sooner I can get them looking at this, the better.
Awesome. Well, I know Katie and Holly are going to get it posted
Yep.
to the website pretty soon. I don't know, Holly, do you want to, or Katie, do you want to say anything about the timeline there?
No, we got the answer there, I think. Thank you.
Oh, got it. Oh, I see it now. Okay, great. Well, with that, maybe we'll close it out here and just thank everybody, thank our presenters, their student guests, and everybody who's engaging here. I hope every one of you has a wonderful holiday season. GCEC will take a webinar break in late December, but we'll see you again in the new year around these virtual series of virtual connection series, and then of course we've got our global connection. Our global summit coming up in July in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and then the annual conference in likely mid to late October in Tallahassee, Florida. So we'll see you one way or another in the new year. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, folks.